Hello folks, my name is Octavian. Sit back, relax, and settle in because this is going to be another shoutcast. Coming from yours truly to EpicSkillshot's channel. Very glad to be here, very glad you guys are all here, and let's get into the game. So long as some people start moving. I think we might be having a little bit of a spectator client bug here, folks. Every new season brings with it new bugs, but hopefully we won't be having too much of an issue here. Looks like maybe just while loading in, people are frozen up a bit. Yeah, there we go. We're back to movement. We have life. It is alive, and it is kicking. Solo and Chris are in a 1v1 up in the top lane. The Q lands on a Solo, and he's kind of... Well, actually, I think he's literally taunting Chris using that taunt emoticon. Getting back under his tower, however, he does look like he's going to head back to base, but Porpoise Deluxe has been using this time to circle around to the side. He lands the Q. He's going for the dive under the tower. Solo has the shield, though, and Chris no longer has flash. Solo's going to flash onto him, deal just the amount of damage he needed with a W, and pick up the first blood for himself. Pardon me. Well done by Solo. And so very close from Porpoise and Chris. I mean... The thing is, though, even if they had gotten that kill, Chris might have still died. Sion does have his passive. He comes back to life, and he does quite a bit of damage, especially in the early game with those chunks, because it's percentage damage. And maybe he could have caught up to Chris. Chris did have some distance on him. He had to flash, and you can't flash while in your passive form after death. Brandon for the win, looking to maybe go for some kind of solo invade there. And, yeah. One of the reasons why I chose this particular game to show you guys is the matchups in a lot of the different lanes. In the bottom lane, where we're focusing now, and actually Mash is getting harassed away down there, but in the bottom lane, it's a support Dr. Mundo alongside Mash's Twitch, and in the mid lane, it's Keane once again, back from the last replay that I casted for you guys, and he's gonna be playing in Urgot this time, keeping up with the strange and unusual mid laners, and hopefully it'll do better for him than the AP Amumu we saw last game, which didn't really work out entirely, had a few shortcomings that just proved too much for him to overcome there, but he seems to be actually doing quite well, and this matchup is a lot more favorable than the last one we saw. This time he has the range advantage, and while Urgot is short-ranged, I mean, Kassadin is melee range, so any amount of range is enough to beat a Kassadin's range, and Keane is going to be able to harass him away over and over again while still being able to sustain up just as easily as Kassadin after any of these fights with his own crystalline flask, and indeed even biscuits. He's gone so far into the utility tree mastery to pick up the total biscuits of rejuvenation, so that's going to be a lot of sustain for this Urgot, and he's dealing some pretty good damage, even without a damage item. But down on the bottom side of the map, we have Meteos coming in for the first gank of the game. The Flash already burned by Janna, going up into the air with the Repel, coming right back down to the Ignite, and the Twitch passive are both burning onto you, Noob. That is going to be Meteos flashing under the tower, and actually it gets finished off by Mash's poison. But that's still going to be another kill, this time going to the bottom lane. Sorry about that, by the way, just while I was loading into this game, I thought perhaps it would be a Kassadin top and a Lissandra mid. I realized at this point that they swapped solo lanes on me, and it was in fact a Lissandra top, but in this day and age it could have been either of them in either of those positions. Did swap them around. Scoreboard a bit more easy to read now for you guys, and speaking of the scoreboard, let's look down and see what some of the item builds have gotten to be as Keane continues to harass Viper away in the mid lane. We've got a lot of swords, a lot of long swords coming out from Twitch. He's got a 17 CS deficit, which is fairly important. Viper getting flashed onto. The E and the Ignite are both ticking. Keane is going to get the kill after he gets away under the tower, and now he might be in some trouble, though. The knockup is going to land. He's going to be CC'd here by you, Noob. There's Chris coming over the wall for the snare. The Ignite is burning from you, Noob, but the Q from Porpoise Deluxe will finish off the kill, taking it away there at the very end. And picking up the first kill of the game for Red Team. Going to be going on to someone who can really make a lot of use of it. Porpoise Deluxe, well, he's going to have to make a lot of use of it because Blue Team has this early game right now in a stranglehold. As you can see down on the bottom side of the map, it looks like Mash and Brandon are doing their best to freeze the lane down there and make it a very inhospitable place for the enemy bottom lane to be. This is quite a good strategy they're pulling off right here, because they have a really, really powerful early game ganker. I mean, Elise hasn't seen a ton of play recently, but she's still got her early game ability to gank lanes. And so when you're able to get the lane in a position like this that's favorable for you and forces the enemy laners to push up, then you can get a gank coming down to the bottom side of the map and make it really, really easy to follow up on for your jungler. We might actually see a gank coming out from red team down here, though, which would be something I wouldn't really advise. I'd have to say I would not personally advise this gank, because Brandon and Mash are both fairly high in hit points, and it looks like Porpoise, if you look down at the minimap there, is going to actually be walking away from the bottom lane, so not going for the tower dive, which probably wouldn't have worked out. I mean, it's difficult to dive a Mundo, even pre-6, just because of the amount of slows that he can spam out at you, but Keane is in some trouble in the mid lane. The Ignite is burning. The damage is there from Viper. Porpoise Deluxe actually misses the Q, but the damage is there anyways. Viper picking up the second kill of the game for Red Team, the first kill of the game for himself, and he's going to be happy with that heading on back home. He got a little bit behind in this lane, to be perfectly honest, but he's managed to nearly even out the CS deficit. With just a few more creep, he's going to be able to get back into an even lane there. And now he's got a kill to match the kill on the other side as well for Keane. And down on the bottom side of the map, we might have a fight going on. Tabukid actually flashing forward with the Q, charged as well, canceling the charging animation by flashing to get it to cast a little bit quicker. But the flash forward means he no longer has it up, and that's going to be a double kill for Brandon. Meanwhile, in the top lane, Solo is making great use of that charge knockup, placing it exactly in the right places. Now, that's what you do with the Scion charge. Actually, he's going under the tower with his ulti as well. Flashes back onto Chris, gets the kill, and might even be able to escape here. No, the slow lands from Porpoise Deluxe. If he can dodge the Q, he might live. He turns around with a knockup. Beautiful. He's holding Porpoise Deluxe there, but he is going to be able to safeguard back to a minion as he takes down Scion, and so the passive not going to be much more than just a farming tool for Solo. He gets a CS or two out of it, I suppose, but really, that's not exactly the use you want to put it to. But what's much more important is the fact that even in a 2v1, he was able to turn around and bring down Chris, and then nearly bring down the jungler as well. This Scion is absolutely crushing in the top lane, and he's doing it all without building into any damage. He's tanky as all hell right now. He's got a Spectre's Cowl and a Kindle Gem, so cooldown reduction, one of the most valuable stats for a Scion. He has such powerful abilities. If you are able to spam them out, you can do so much work. And if you max that shout as well, you can do tons and tons of poke damage in a lane. People don't really expect it. If you max the shout first, shout a minion at someone, it actually does extra damage if you hit them with one of their own minions. Just barely missing right there onto Chris, but the point still stands. He is bullying this lane out, and he is doing quite a good job of it. We might actually see another gank up in the top lane. Speaking of the top lane, the stun lands onto Chris. He ults himself to keep alive for a little bit longer, trying to buy time until Porpoise can arrive. He is roaming up from the Raptor camp, but it looks like Meteos is going to finish off the kill before Porpoise can arrive, and Viper actually coming up there himself. Got a little bit caught out in the mid lane and took a bunch of damage from Keane. I don't know if you guys saw that. The camera didn't focus on it for too long, but Viper is below half health here. Porpoise looking to make some kind of gank happen onto Keane anyways, even with Viper a bit low. And honestly, they could probably pull it off if it weren't for the fact that Keane is a bit pushed back right now, and really not in a very gankable situation. But if he were pushed up, he would not be able to burst Viper down before Porpoise and Viper could actually deal with him. He had the early lead. Maybe a little while ago he could have handled that situation, but since then he has died twice. He's given up some CS, and he's lost the stranglehold he had in the mid lane. I mean, he still has the lead, but it's no longer as oppressive as it used to be. I don't know if Viper is going to give that up again, or if Keane's going to continue to falter behind. The rest of the lane is still a mystery to us, because that's how the future works. But so far, it looks like Viper is starting to pull himself back into this game, and perhaps with a few roams, he could even pull himself ahead of Keane. That's what I'd really like to see Viper do at this point. But down on the bottom side, there are the Tendrils of Corruption burnt onto Meteos. Flash forward from Brandon just to drop the exhaust, actually. And it doesn't look like they're going to be able to really follow up on that. Brandon kind of wasting both summoners. And now Porpoise Deluxe is coming in from the jungle, though he's going very, very low. Brandon has lots of damage right now. That is the power of a Dr. Mundo who's able to get a few level advantages. He just has such powerful base stats on his abilities. If he can get those level advantages, the percentage chunk and the extra AD from Masochism can do lots and lots of work. Viper has roamed down here, but there's the teleport coming in. Solo going to be charging in with the ulti. He's going to be landing it onto no one, actually. Unoob flashing over the wall to avoid it. Viper now going to be the next of their focus. The slow lands on Unoob. He's very, very low, but he is quite far enough away from danger that even low on health, he's going to be able to escape. And Brandon is going to go down. The ignite from Viper will take him out, and now Mash is the next one in trouble, but Viper gets stunned up, and he gets exploded. Solo picking up his 3rd kill of the game, doing tons of work on this top lane Scion. His teleport down does mean that Chris was able to push up, able to close the CS gap a little bit, but even with that time, he hasn't been able to close it to more than a 10 CS gap, or less than a 10 CS gap, rather. And he just now was able to close it to less than a 10 CS gap. So, despite the fact that Scion hasn't even been in the lane for the past minutes, Chris is still behind in CS. That's how utterly powerfully we have seen this Scion just absolutely holding domination in the top lane. And it's been working out really well for Blue Team. I mean, other than that, this game has been fairly even. Down on the bottom side of the map, we've seen a few kills go back and forth. Dr. Mundo's pretty powerful right now, but not so powerful that he can't be dealt with. Mash, he's about even with Dabukid, and we've seen ganking from both junglers down on this side of the map. So really, there isn't anywhere else on the map that I can really throw in the direction of one team or another. It's just this top lane right now that's really, really solidly in favor of Blue. And Porpoise Deluxe is going in onto Brandon for the win. I don't know if he really wants this fight, though. He's very, very low. There's the Tendrils of Corruption. There's the healing debuff from Dabukid, and that's going to be Brandon going down. It took a lot of effort, but they did manage to bring down the Mundo. And that's going to be another kill going over to Varus, who I suppose I can actually call bottom lane in favor of one side or the other, and I can call it in favor of red. Dabukid has been doing a really good job of getting the CS lead over Mash, and part of that I want to attribute simply to Brandon's failed invade early on, when he went for the level 1 sort of, not so much an invade as just a harassing trip, and he went to try and mess up Porpoise's jungle and keep Dabukid and Unoob from doing the early jungle camp and getting the XP advantage. And he stopped them from doing it, but the ironic thing is they got the XP advantage anyways, because they got back to lane a lot quicker and a lot healthier than Dr. Mundo did, and that meant that Twitch didn't have a support for a while, so he was behind in levels, and that snowballed into being behind in levels later on, and behind in CS later on, and on and on and on, until at this point he's got a Bilgewater Cutlass, and Varus has a BF Sword and a Pickaxe, and 2 Doran's Blades. That is a large advantage in favor of Varus. And in later team fights, it could really play out in favor of Red Team. I mean, Solo, I don't know if he's going to be able to shut down this Varus. Scion is pretty good at getting to the back lines, and he has a decent amount of damage, but Varus is pretty good at peeling for himself, so long as he waits for Solo to run in with the ulti, and then after the ulti ends, uses the Tendril of Corruption and doesn't panic and use it while he's not able to be CC'd, then he should be in good shape, especially with a Janna alongside him, peeling for him as well. So it's going to be very, very difficult for Solo in teamfights to turn his lead in top lane into a victory for the team and victory in teamfights. That's going to be the real difficult part about this lane. He's got this top lane dominated. As you can see right there, he's actually diving under the tower, forcing Chris to flash to the side. Flash traded for ulti. And Sandra's going to go on back to farming the lane here, while Keane in the mid lane, he's actually gotten control of this lane back again, it seems like. Porpoise Deluxe has spent a good amount of time down in bottom lane recently, so he hasn't been visiting mid as much, but he's back here. He's looking to rectify that. Keane going to be forced to ult away and then flash just to keep himself from dying under the tower after a very, very nice Dragon's Rage places him underneath the enemy tower. Mash getting hit by the Tendrils of Corruption. Max range, wonderful skill shot from Dabukid. There's the ult, going to be forcing Mash away though. Dabukid has to flash after to finish him off. Unoob underestimated how much damage, or overestimated rather, how much damage Dabukid was putting out onto Mash, and now up in the top lane, Meteos is going for a gank. He's in dire straits though, coming down, flashing away, and Solo, looking to back him up, actually has to run away as well. I'm not entirely sure what exactly led up to this situation, but somehow Chris has managed to 2v1 Solo, and Meteos under the tower is not going to go for a dive. That would be a little bit on the braver side of things, but maybe Porpoise Deluxe is going to be able to go for it. Here comes the spider, it'll explode, it doesn't do too much damage, and Porpoise Deluxe is kiting around, he gets slowed, he gets stunned. Meteos and Solo are doing a wonderful job of kiting his aggro right here, and they manage to bring him down. Solo does die in the end to the Lissandra, but he turns around now, he might be able to take revenge for himself after the grave. Oh my god! I don't know. I don't know if you guys saw exactly what happened right there, but for those of you who don't know, when Lysandra uses her Q on an enemy, it extends the range of the Q past where that enemy was. So if it hits the enemy at max range, it'll then shatter and get more range after that. Chris didn't quite have the range to land a Q onto Meteos, but he had the range to land a Q onto Solo, and they lined up, and Solo was perfectly in line so that when Chris hit him with a Q, even in his death form, you can still hit him with a Q, you can hit him with your abilities. The shattering part of the Ice Shard flew past Solo, hit Meteos, and got the double kill for Chris. That was beautiful. That was honestly more poorly played by Blue Team right there than well played by Chris, but he saw the situation and he took great advantage of it, and honestly, it just, as you saw, it kind of broke my composure a little bit because of how unlikely that circumstance was, and it was wonderful. I 10 out of 10 would watch again. But we should move on. We should get on with some of what is happening in the rest of this game here. Keane is doing a good job once again of pushing up this mid lane, and that is that mid-game power spike that I was talking about earlier with the Urgot. However, Chris is coming down with a mid-game power spike of his own. The hyperkinetic position reverser onto Chris actually gets interrupted by Viper, and Keane is perfectly fine with that. He just used it for a CC. He didn't actually want to swap positions. There is the kill from Viper back onto Keane, and it looks like he might be able to escape from Solo here. Meanwhile, down near the Dragon Pit, we have a bit of a fight going on as well. Brandon for the win is going to get bursted down by the Varus damage, and Dragon's going to be spawning in about 7 or 8 seconds right now. Red Team might be able to pick that one up since Solo got distracted by chasing Viper all the way up back to the top lane, and of course Viper being Kassadin was able to escape the Scion, even with very little of his hit points remaining. So Porpoise is going to go back to farming his jungle, and it actually looks like they're not going to go ahead and try for the Dragon, because that could be fairly easily stolen by Meteos on Elise. As I said, she still hasn't played very much recently, and that's probably due to the majority of the last few patches that involved her being nerfs to her, and so she's kind of fallen out of favor. But she is still quite good at stealing dragons. She can leap in there with the repel, she has percentage execute damage, and of course she has a smite rather. So actually looking to try and solo it herself, might be in some trouble here. Porpoise Deluxe coming in, has a lot of friends though. The stun doesn't quite land, and looks like the dragon is going to be foiled at least by Porpoise showing up. That was a bit of a sneaky move by Meteos, but there was vision in the nearby area, so they probably saw Meteos walking towards the dragon, if not seeing Meteos on the dragon itself. And this bottom lane, something we haven't really talked about too much recently, probably because of all the action that's been happening everywhere else on the map, as both teams are still jockeying for control around the Dragon Pit. And justifiably so. I mean, Dragon, with the last few patches, with the last season, really has become such an important objective. You really can't just let it go. Brandon going very, very low. The Ignite is burning onto him. The Q lands. One more auto attack from Chris is going to finalize the kill. And that is the third kill of the game for Chris. He started off fairly rough, but he's having a good one of it now. Actually getting swapped into the tower. Just as I say that, he is going to be going down. Came a little bit too close to Keane. Forgot about the hyperkinetic position reverser. I mean, it's a long name. It's an easy one to forget. I should know. It took me a little while to memorize all the names for Urgot's abilities. And I guess it's justifiable to forget about exactly what an Urgot can do when he's nearby you. You don't see him too often. It's not like a Lee Sin or a Kassadin or a Twitch or something. You don't see them too often in your games. You don't have too many opportunities to actually play against them and get used to what they can do when you're nearby them and what their ranges are and all of that. So that's one of the advantages, really, of Keane's playstyle, where he takes very strange roles in the mid lane, where he goes things like the AP Amumu we saw last time, or the Urgot that we're seeing right now, or the Hecarim mid that he's so famous for. He actually pulled that one out in competitive play once or twice. So one of the advantages of having an oddity playstyle like that is you can make people surprised at what you're playing. You are unpredictable, and that can be a huge advantage. Noob is going very, very low. Keane is going to bring him down, and the repel from the sky for Meteos will bring him back into the fight here as well. Chris is going low. He's forced to pop the ult to keep himself alive. He just about avoids Solo's knockup. The ult just barely had enough duration. If the knockup from Scion had connected there, I do think that Chris would have died, but thankfully he stayed inside his prison of an ice tomb for long enough to keep himself alive. And it's going to be the outer turn in the mid lane falling. This game is incredibly even, folks. We are 31.8k to 31.2k, 14 kills to 14, and 2-2 in terms of towers. Looks like we're going to be getting another dragon, maybe for Blue Team here. I think this would be their second dragon of the game, though. think with all the action I might have lost count somewhere along the way. That is going to be another dragon, though, going over to blue team. Meteo's flashing over the wall, actually, to avoid Chris coming in. Porpoise Deluxe is going to finish off Brandon for the win and look to try and find Mash. He's invisible and he's sneaking around. Actually, he turns around. He has tons of burst. He gets kicked over the wall, and Keane finishes him off anyways. Now the hyperkinetic position reverser is going to keep Chris locked up until Solo can bring him down. Viper's going to be leaping over the wall with his ulti, followed by Dabu Kid with a flash. Solo picks up the double kill onto Viper and turns around to try and fight Dabu Kid, but Unoob is here, and they have enough to take down this giant behemoth of a champion who goes into his passive, but Janna is the queen of peeling even undead monstrosities, and so he's not going to be able to get anything out of that. And in the quest for evenness, we once again have 17-17 on the scoreboard. 2-2 in turrets, and the gold is a bit in favor of blue team by 500 or 600, but that's really not really much to write home about. Mid lane turret falls. That's going to be another turret going over to red team, giving them the lead in that area at least. And we should take a moment now to look down at what some people are building in terms of items here. We have Scion going full tank. Like, not even stopping at the rest stop of damage, not picking up a brutalizer, none of that. None of that nonsense, just going straight out tank, in your face, charging at you, letting his team do the damage while he does the CC and the very, very scary zombie man in your face sort of role. Which, I mean, if I were an immobile Varus on the other side, I would be kind of frightened of that as well. Except for the fact that there was so much peel on red team. So very much peel. Even Varus himself can peel pretty well for himself. Chris might be in some trouble here, gets interrupted while trying to get away. However, Keane and Brandon are both in the top lane, and that's going to be Solo picking up his 6th kill of the game on the Scion top lane. I really like Scion top. I mean, he's not a underused champion. Ever since his rework, we have seen him in the top lane a few times, but he's not a staple of anywhere. He's not one of those champions that you think, well, yeah, I mean, of course he went Scion top. That what else would fit into that matchup? He's not someone that just is pick or ban. He's never really been someone that's pick or ban, both before and after the rework, especially before the rework. But I still really, really like the champion. He's incredibly solid. He can do really, really well with a lead because his base damage is so incredibly powerful, but I'll have to get back to that in a second. The pink ward dropped here, so Mash has no way out of this. He doesn't even try and escape. He's just going to stand there and watch himself burn. And it looks like it's actually going to be Dabu Kid picking up that kill, as Janna decides to go with the Magi Soul Stealer. We were looking at builds a little while ago, so I was glancing down at the builds every now and again to see if there's anything interesting popping up, and it does look like we're going to have something interesting pop up. Whoa! Chris going in with some beautiful AoE combo onto blue team. Gets exhausted as soon as he's able to be, though. However, Porpoise Deluxe is going to try and avenge him right thereafter. Keane's going to be going down. The Urgot has fallen. Viper is going to be going down as well. And that's going to be 2 kills for red team, and I think only 1 for blue team so far. 3 for red team. Viper picks up a double kill. Solo's going to be in some trouble. The red buff is burning. The knockup doesn't quite connect because he flashes away from it, but the Q connects. However, all it does is eat away at his shield, because when you build tank on Scion, your shield is incredibly effective, because all that extra hit points that the shield gives you, both in terms of the extra hit points that it gives you from the passive and from the active, when you, well, use the shield, they all are affected by your armor and magic resist, and he's got plenty of armor and magic resist. He's got a frozen heart and a spirit visage, so he's not really focusing in either direction. He's got all of his bases covered, and he's going to be very, very difficult to take down. However, the rest of his team might not be so difficult, as Mash continues to overextend in the bottom lane and continues to get caught out in the process. We do have a teleport coming in. Solo's looking to try and make something happen off of this. You might say that red team's a bit overextended here, especially if Solo can land this ult. He has to cancel it in time to leap onto Viper. Does some good damage. The Zonias and the Dragon's Rage might keep him alive a little longer. No, the stun from Meteos before he can even ult away after the Zonias ends locks him up long enough for Brandon to take down the kill with the machete, or I suppose a trophy, rather, because that is the TPA Mundo skin. One of the best Mundo skins in the game, in my opinion. It just has such wonderful sound effects. It's probably hard to hear over the sound of my constantly prattling voice, but when Mundo lands a cleaver, it does make a wonderful tunk sound effect, and it's just great. It's great. There's no other way to describe it. I don't know exactly why it's great. I could not tell you, but you should probably go look it up on the wiki or something, hear that sound effect, and just be overjoyed at it. I mean, that was my reaction upon first hearing it. Anyways, that's a little bit off track. We should look at some of the item builds, because, you know, those are always interesting to look at. Urgot, Keane, down in the bottom lane, is doing huge damage. Good lord, Unoob is nearly instantly melted, and this is what I was talking about. Just nobody understands the potential for damage coming out from Keane right now. They thought they had an easy 2v1. They thought they had a simple matter of a gank onto an overextended Urgot, but he turned around, he showed them what's what, and he got the 2v1. Meanwhile, Solo and Brandon are not having quite as good luck as Keane was. That is a 3-man knockup. Very nice from Solo. He's going so low, though, as you may imagine from his name, and he does come back in the death passive, chases after Porpoise, but Chris, Porpoise, and Viper are all very, very mobile, and they're all going to escape here. Lissandra, Lee Sin, and Kassadin, not exactly a trio that's easy to lock down, especially for a post-mortem site. However, they are all low on health, and they don't have very much pressure in the mid lane. They might be able to take something out, though there is a teleport coming in, so it looks like Meteos and Brandon are going to have to back up. The knockup actually lands on a Brandon, the snare as well. There's Porpoise Deluxe coming in. Some damage of his own is going to be added into the mix. And the Morellonomicon from Chris is doing some work on this Mundo. He's stuck at that low hit points. He's not really regenerating his health as quickly as he'd like to be. However, they don't manage to take away the last few hundred hit points that they needed to be able to actually bring him down. And so he's going to be alive for the dragon fight here. And, it's probably going to be quite a dragon fight. Both teams are aligning themselves near the area. Unoob is actually coming in, trying to go aggressive on a Meteos. If they can get this pick, if they can bring down Meteos here, that'll be the enemy jungler out of the picture, and that'll be the smite gone. They're flashing, and they're burning things onto Brandon, actually. They do take him down, but Meteos turns around. He's got some good burst of his own, and now Mash is coming in from the side. Keane is here as well, and we saw earlier that Keane hurts right now. He is at his power spike as Urgot. However, we do have from the back Porpoise Deluxe coming in, but Solo has shown up as well. Keane going to be swapping in with Dabukid. Dabukid in so much trouble. Solo's going to go and 1v1 him while Keane deals with the rest of the team. And overall, that is a 2-for-2 trade so far. Viper coming in, trying to make it a 3-for-2, but Mash just about escapes with 10 hit points left. And now Viper is incredibly overextended, so overextended that I don't think even a Kassadin's going to be able to get out of this one. Keane has the damage, and he takes him out. Magic damage shields are no use to you here. And for good measure, they'll turn and bring down the pink ward as well. So overall, blue team picking up the 1 kill advantage in that particular trade. However, Porpoise Deluxe is doing the dragon right now. Red team has no vision in this area. I mean, blue team, rather, has no vision in this area. Though they do have a sneaking suspicion. And, well, maybe they didn't even have a suspicion. Maybe they just wanted the dragon for themselves, so they were going up towards that area anyways. And it was just bad timing for Porpoise. But he did his best, and he might actually still be able to steal it here. Keane is going after it. He is going to be able to secure it on Urgot. And the Monsoon will keep... Actually, might not keep Unoob alive. Solo coming in with the ulti. There is no way to stop that. And so Janna's going to be dying, actually giving the kill up to Brandon, who has taken quite a few kills here on this support Mundo. Something I'll get back to in just a second, though, as we see Chris getting over the wall. He managed to escape. Brandon flashes after him, though, lands the Q and picks up yet another kill on the Dr. Mundo support. Porpoise Deluxe is going to be going down. Keane is unstoppable at this point. The burst is there from Varus, so they turn around and bring down Mash. But I don't know if this turret's going to be able to be saved. Keane is here. While Mash did die, and that's a lot of their turret-taking power gone, Keane has some of his own, and he's at 100 hit points, actually. Viper turning around, going aggressive, pops the Zonias, and then ults right out of there. Nearly brought Keane down. That could have been really, really bad for blue team. And actually, it kind of is really, really bad for blue team. They had that tower in the bag, but because Keane went a bit too aggressive under the tower, took a bit too much damage from those huge bursting tower shots, as well as the amount that Viper was able to turn and burn onto him with a sort of semi-re-engage. Keane wasn't around to be able to burn down the turret, and so the turret is still standing. Mash obviously wasn't around either. The burst from Dabukid took him out at the very beginning of that little skirmish in the first place, so they managed to save their secondary turret in the mid lane and live to fight another day in that particular area of the map, at least. They did have to give up the dragon, though, and that is the 3rd dragon going over to blue team so far, so they certainly have the lead in terms of that particular global objective. But that's not an insurmountable lead. I mean, red team is behind, I would say, even though they're not behind in gold, the 3 dragons probably put blue team in terms of, like, team fighting power and global presence a bit ahead of red team right now, simply because red team only has a few hundred gold in the lead, and the dragon buffs are worth quite a bit. Definitely more than 300 gold. So I would say that blue team has the lead right now, but they don't have so much of a lead that red team can't pull back at pretty much any point. Down on the bottom side of the map, though, we have Solo going at the 1v1 with Chris, but it is swiftly not going to be a 1v1 anymore, and he might be in a lot of trouble. He gets ulted up by the Lissandra. He flashes away. He's going to be ulting away as well. However, Viper ults in front of him. The only way to stop a Scion from ulting away is to be a roadblock in his path, and he slams face first into a Kassadin that appears right in front of him, nixing all of his plans of escape. That was very, very well played by Viper. Yeah, that was just an enjoyable play, like we saw earlier with the Lissandra Q over the undead Scion. That was just an enjoyable play. It wasn't particularly flashy, it wasn't particularly crazy or anything, but it's one of those things you don't get to see too often, and it's just a funny little use of champion synergy and anti-synergy. More anti-synergy there than anything else. So good awareness by Viper to realize that he had a way of stopping the Scion from ulting. Or canceling the Scion ult after it had already been cast, rather. But I digress, and we should move back to looking at some of the items here, because we haven't given them a look in a little while, and we're 30 minutes into this game. People have built a few items, you could say. One of the builds that we should really take note of is the build that Keane has put together on Urgot, because we don't really get to see Urgot builds too often. We don't get to see Urgot too often in the first place, so we should go down and look at what he's building, because it's going to be as educational as it is interesting. Brandon in some trouble in the mid lane is going to get snared up by Chris, going to get ignited as well, and Dabukid will finish off the kill, while Keane can do nothing but look on in horror while his friend dies. And, whoa, actually, Chris going very, very low himself, pops into the Zonia's ult mash, though, and there is Porpoise Deluxe coming in to finish off the kill along with an auto attack from Dabukid. Now the heal is popped from Dabukid. The stun does land, and Keane is doing huge bursts of damage. Dabukid is at half health. Here comes Solo. They're going for the 3v5 right now. Solo finishes off Porpoise, and they haven't given up a kill yet. Unoob forced to flash away. Keane might be able to continue on with this chase. He does have hyperkinetic position reverser. He swaps back. Lissandra, she swaps right away, though, as soon as the ult ends, and Viper now forced to ult away as well. There's one more Q. One more Q from Keane would finish off the kill, but he just about got out of range for the homing Q to follow him. And there is Dabukid forced to flash as well. There's the kill for Keane. There's another kill for Solo. And the Repel will keep Meteos alive. 3v5 extended skirmish. And these three guys have managed to pull out 3 kills so far for themselves. They might even be able to finish off Chris. Keane is chasing after him. Keane has the damage, and despite the fact that Lissandra turns around with the ult, Keane is godlike. 13 and 6. Amazingly played by Blue Team. Solo, Meteos, and Keane right there doing tons and tons of work, and they're just going to turn around and turn that right into a Baron play. This thing is melting down. They take it out incredibly quickly. They have the percentage chunk from Elise and Mundo. They have Twitch around to do a bunch of damage as well. And that's going to be Baron. That's going to be a multiple kill lead. They still don't have the turret lead, but they have a 2,000 gold lead on the map. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's only 2,000. They seem like they have such a bigger lead, but that's because of the dragons that they have picked up. Now, Dragon does not give gold anymore, so it doesn't actually show up really on the gold lead sort of area of the scoreboard. It's hard to tell. It's even more invisible than it used to be in terms of its impact on the map. Mash is going down very, very low, but here comes Solo to turn around. Porpoise Deluxe flashes Bass. He uses the W to get behind Mash and kick him back. However, Keane is legendary on the mid lane. Urgot picking off the kill onto Porpoise before he can escape, and doing such a good job here on such a odd champion that we really wouldn't have thought would be this powerful coming out of the mid lane into the 33-minute mark of this game. I mean, Urgot is, if he's well known for anything, he's most well known for his ability to crush a lane in the mid game and do really, really well at the mid game, do incredibly powerful at the 25, maybe the 30-minute mark. But once you get past that point, Urgot starts to fall off, and it really doesn't seem like Keane is adhering to that. He just doesn't want to fall off. He's decided that he's going to still burst people down in a matter of 3 or 4 shots, and he is doing it. I mean, he's built basically a full AD Urgot aside from the Frozen Gauntlet, or Iceborne Gauntlet rather, which is still going to be giving him damage. I mean, it's not a pure damage item like, well, the rest of his items are aside from his boots, but it's still a heavy damage item in terms of the amount of burst that allows him to put out and the amount of sticking power that he has. Urgot casts a Q every second or less. He has that Iceborne proc whenever he needs it, essentially. We have another team fight here. Keane is legendary. That is going to be another kill for Solo as well. He's on a killing spree. Another kill for Brandon. Everybody is getting a piece of the pie here, or a piece of the red team, rather. Twitch finishing off his own kill, and they're going to push in onto the inhibitor turret here. A final stand from Chris might be enough to stop them. It is not going to be. Even all the AoE that Lysandra could muster was not enough to save the turret, and they're just going to face tank this one up, take it out, and that is the surrender vote, ladies and gentlemen, coming out from Red Team. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. My name is Octavian. Be sure to like the video, comment if you feel like it, and maybe go and look at my channel. I've got a bunch of other videos very much like this one over there if you'd like to go and see some more of me talking about video games. I'm Octavian. I hope to see you later.